impi chirianista yakusaranga yakumana baisa mugutube paikara chirianista yakusaranga yakwana baisa mugutube.
Hello the great people of Zambia. It's Thursday and we have just 7 days more to go before we go to the poll, before we make that decision on who are gonna be our political leaders for the next 5 years. And this week we're gonna break the protocol a little bit because we are cruising so fast to election day. So this week we are going to bring you 3 episodes of your election tips and insights with me, Kabanse, and not the usual 2 episodes that we do every week. So today we are going to talk about the voting process for assisted persons or people that need assistance during the polling days. So the differently abled or any other person that needs assistance during the polling day. As you know, voting is everyone's right. It's everyone's right to vote, and therefore it is our duty as citizens and the duty of the state to make sure that everyone is presented with an opportunity to vote. And then we are going to do another session which is going to be our 10th episode on Friday. And Friday we are going to talk about making your vote count. Okay, we are going to talk about spoiled ballots. We are going to talk about rejected ballots. We are going to discuss what would make your vote not to count so that you don't make that mistake and you're on top of your game to make sure that every ballot that is casted counts and makes your voice heard. And of course, our final episode that we are going to run on Monday is going to focus on things that would get you arrested or things that will send you to jail on election day. So we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts on election day. What things, what activities, what behaviors would send you to jail if you don't abide by the rules of the game. So that will be our last episode before we go to the poll on the 13th of August. So let's get back to today's episode. Today's episode, like I said, we are discussing voting process for assisted persons. So we are talking about persons with disability or any other person who requires assistance to vote who actually may be assisted. Okay? So anyone who requires assistance to vote or to enter the polling station should or must be assisted by a friend, a relative, or the presiding officer. Okay? In an event that that person offering assistance or another person is offering assistance other than the presiding officer, you must make sure that that person who is going to assist you, or if you are that person who is going to assist someone who is not able or who needs help on voting day, you must be 18 years and above. That's number 1. And number 2, you must be in possession of a green national registration card. So whether it's a person who is going to vote or someone who is not going to vote but is going to provide assistance to someone who is differently abled, they must ensure and make sure that that person assisting is 18 years and above and they're in possession of a green national registration card. So those are the 2 requirements for any person who is going to provide assistance: 18 years and above, and must be in possession of a green national registration card, which they should carry to the polling station. So who are these assisted persons that we are talking about, and what kind of assistance is available or should be provided to them during the voting day? Number 1, we are talking about persons with disability. Okay? Persons with disability. And the kind of assistance that is provided to people with disability or the differently abled is: 1, they are allowed to go to the front of the queue. Not Makomanda, Machani, those confusionists, they just come and they want to go in front of the queue. No. But a person with disability should always be given priority to go in front of the queue, of the voting queue. Okay? And they may need assistance to enter the polling station. Therefore, it's our duty, it's a duty of the person assisting them to make sure that they are assisted to enter the polling station. If you're using any aid, maybe a wheelchair or a walking stick or any, they still need assistance for them to be able to access the polling station. Okay? And they need assistance in all or some of the aspects of the voting. Okay? In particular, with marking their ballot papers, especially for the blind, they need that kind of assistance. But the secrecy of the vote has to be maintained at all times, even when we are assisting someone. Okay? Another category of people that may or need assistance or maybe assistance are the expectant mothers, pregnant mothers. Okay? Mothers, ajimai ali pakati. Vanamayo abali pakati. Okay? Bajali na mimba. Nawo afuniko tandiziwa. Tifuniko wapasa tandizo yotani. What kind of help can be rendered to them? One is to make sure that they are given priority to vote. They should be allowed to go in front of the queue, and they should be allowed to vote early so that they are out of that queue and they go and continue nursing and making sure that bounce baby is brought to life in the most healthy and good circumstances. Okay. Another group that needs assistance or can be helped are the aged, and they are also allowed to go in front of the queue. Wachikulile, our senior citizens must always be given special preference when it comes to voting. And another group that we can help or that needs assistance during voting day are the illiterate. Baja wamene siwazi wa kulemba. Okay? They may need assistance when it comes to marking the ballot paper. Tinga watandizire in case wafuna tandizo iliyonse mukulemba mukuvotera muntu omwe alufuna. But what is important to remember as we conclude today's session is going to be very short, as what we need to remember is that the voters with disabilities that require assistance with marking of the ballot paper are only those that are blind. Okay, wajawakuti manso saruona bwino. Those are the people that should be assisted with marking the ballot. Sometimes they may use what we call a voting jacket. Okay. However, it should be noted that, of course, the ballot papers used, even if they use a voting jacket, are the same as any other ballot. But the voting jacket is the one that will be in Braille, okay, in Braille form to help the visually impaired voter make their own choices. What is key is that whether they are going to use a voting jacket, should it be made available, and of course the presiding officer guides and follows the rules on how this should be used. What is key is that the secrecy of the ballot must be maintained at all times, and the choice, they should make their own independent choice on who they are going to vote for. Okay? Another thing to remember is that voters that are illiterate or with other disabilities besides them being blind should be able to mark their candidate of choice. Okay? Wambiri ngankale siwaziwa kulemba chabe X yeve X pali hakainde ichilema X ngati vavotera hakainde ichilema. That is a thing that shouldn't be a problem. Okay? If they require assistance, it is always recommended that at the booth, the presiding officer should stand beside them and be able to give them the choices in an audible voice. He should be able to read out what is on the ballot paper so that they make that choice. So after this, then the voter can make their choice and proceed to vote. So what is the underlying thing is that it is everyone's right to vote. Don't stay home because you are differently abled or you are disabled or you need any kind of assistance. That assistance is readily available for you when you go to that polling station. So please don't stay home. Make your vote count, because every vote matters. Every vote is very, 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 very important. Until tomorrow, Friday, when we are going to discuss how to make your vote count, when we discuss spoiled and rejected ballots and mistakes people make that makes their ballots not to be considered. We are going to break all those down, and we're going to give you a lowdown of the do's and don'ts when you are marking that ballot paper in tomorrow's episode. And remember, our final episode on Monday, we are going to discuss things that would get you arrested if you misbehave at the polling station. My name is Kabanse. We speak to you again in our next episode. Have yourselves a great
kwatitebo bapompwe nga bayisa mukulombe poti bayichefyanga pushi walokwa nga bati banakirire batekanye kwatite bali abachimeko